Welcome, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're exploring a really foundational story, Abram's journey and the promise of Canaan, drawing from Genesis chapter 12. Yeah, our mission, as always, is to dig into this ancient text and pull out the key insights. It's a narrative packed with, well, immense faith, but also some surprising challenges and these huge promises. It really is a compelling story. You've got this radical trust right alongside some very human moments, struggles, and even dilemmas that feel quite timeless. So let's dive in. It kicks off with this just astonishing command from the Lord to Abram. Verse 1 says, "Get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto a land that I will show thee." I mean, think about that. No specifics, no Google Maps, just go. Leave everything.
It's an incredible ask, isn't it? And what's fascinating are the promises tied to it immediately. Verses 2 and 3, they lay out this huge divine commitment. He's told he'll become a great nation. His name will be great. It'll be a blessing. And then there's this reciprocity. Bless those who bless you, curse those who curse you.
Mm.
But the kicker really is, in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. That scope is just immense. It hints at something universal, way beyond just Abram.
And Abram's reaction, he just goes. Verse 4 says he departed as the Lord had spoken unto him, and he's 75 years old.
75. It's hard to overstate how radical that is, starting over completely at that age, based purely on a promise.
He takes Sarai, his wife, Lot, his nephew, all their possessions, the people they'd gathered in Haran, and they head out for Canaan. Verse 5 says they arrived. And then there's that little detail in verse 6, and the Canaanites were then in the land. That feels important.
Oh, absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
It tells us right away this isn't some empty, unclaimed territory. He's walking into an occupied land, which makes the promise of his descendants inheriting it even more, well, audacious.
So it adds another layer of challenge, really.
Exactly. And then the Lord appears again at Shechem. He specifically says, "Unto thy seed will I give this land." So the promise gets more concrete. It's this land for your descendants.
And Abram responds by building an altar there.
Yes, and then another one later, near Bethel, as he moves south, he called upon the name of the Lord. These aren't just, simple religious acts. They're statements.
Like marking territory.
In a way, yes. Acts of worship, certainly, but also public declarations of faith, claiming the promise in the midst of this land that isn't yet his. He's acting on the promise.
Okay, so he's arrived, he's received the promise again, he's worshiping, things seem to be on track maybe, but then bang, verse 10 hits us with, and there was a famine in the land, a severe one.
Right, a major crisis almost immediately. It's severe enough that Abram decides he needs to go south into Egypt just to survive, to sojourn there.
And this leads to probably one of the most troubling parts of the story, doesn't it? As they get close to Egypt, Abram gets scared. He looks at Sarai, sees she's beautiful, and thinks the Egyptians will kill me to take her. That's verses 11 and 12.
Yeah, it's a stark moment of fear overriding faith. His solution, he tells Sarai, "Say, I pray thee, thou art my sister."
That it may be well with me for thy sake, and my soul shall live because of thee. He asks her to lie to save his own skin. It feels like such a letdown after the initial faith.
It absolutely is. And the plan, well, it sort of works initially, but not in a good way.
Yeah.
The Egyptians do see Sarai, they praise her beauty to Pharaoh, and she's taken into Pharaoh's house.
Oh, wow. So she's actually taken into the royal household.
Exactly. And Abram, verse 16 says, Pharaoh entreated Abram well for her sake. He gets sheep, oxen, donkeys, servants, camels. Basically, he profits from the deception.
That raises some serious questions, doesn't it? How does this profound human failing, this fear and deceit, fit with the divine promise?
It's a huge tension in the text. It shows us that the recipient of the promise is flawed, deeply human, but crucially, the narrative doesn't just leave it there.
Right, because then God steps in. Verse 17 is pretty direct. And the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife.
Divine intervention. The plagues aren't random. They're explicitly linked to Sarai being in Pharaoh's house under false pretenses.
Yeah.
It forces the truth out.
And Pharaoh figures it out.
He does. He calls Abram in, and he is furious. Verses 18 and 19 show him confronting Abram. "What is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife?"
You can almost hear the anger and confusion.
Absolutely. "Why saidst thou, she is my sister?" Pharaoh points out he might have taken her as a wife in ignorance. Then he just tells him, "Now therefore, behold thy wife, take her and go thy way."
Get out.
Basically, immediately, Pharaoh commands his men to escort Abram, Sarai, and everything they own straight out of Egypt.
So even though Abram messed up badly through fear, the promise and Sarai are protected.
Precisely. It underscores this idea that the divine plan isn't ultimately derailed by human weakness. Providence steps in to keep the covenant on track, even when the human partner falters. It's quite a lesson.
It really is such a mix in this chapter. You've got incredible faith, immediate obedience, but then this detour into fear, deception, and divine rescue. What really stands out to you from this whole sequence? Is there a moment or a verse you find particularly striking? Maybe let us know in the comments below what part of Abram's story resonates most with you. So, just to wrap up our deep dive today, we started with that incredible, life-altering call to Abram, packed with those huge, sweeping promises. We followed his journey of faith, his obedience in heading to Canaan, and his acts of worship there, claiming the land through faith. And then we navigated that unexpected detour into Egypt, driven by famine, marked by fear and deception regarding Sarai, yet ultimately resolved by divine intervention that protected Sarai, and interestingly, upheld the integrity of the promise itself, sending them back out of Egypt.
Yeah, I think if there's one thought to leave with, it's that Abram's story really shows us something powerful. It reminds us that the path of faith, this unfolding of a promise or destiny, isn't always linear. Even when doubt creeps in or resources are scarce, or we make, frankly, poor choices out of fear, the journey continues. It often takes unexpected turns, demands resilience, and reveals that the promise can be safeguarded in ways we might not foresee.
That's a great point to end on. Thank you so much for joining us for this exploration today on The Deep Dive. If you found this discussion insightful, please do like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. And maybe share it with someone else you think would appreciate digging into these ancient stories with us. We'll see you next time.